Today we're going to take you to the bird sanctuary that is the Onetangi Reserve, right here in the heart of Waiheke Island. Dramatic introduction for such an amazing day. Today we are heading to the Onetangi Reserve, which is an amazing New Zealand native bush right in the heart of Waiheke Island. But before we enter the forest, we are washing our shoes with a special solution in order to help stop the spread of a disease called the Kori dieback, which attacks Kori trees, which are New Zealand native trees.
There are multiple different entrances to the Onetangi Reserve, and we're starting from an entrance on Trig Hill Road and making our way towards Onetangi Beach, sort of following the whole network of tracks that there is here.
Almost instantly, as soon as we get into the forest, we start seeing some amazing trees. We see a ton of Kori trees, which obviously are very present in this area. Kori trees are some of the oldest type of trees to be found in New Zealand, and also some of the biggest and the tallest. After about 10-minute walk, we stumble upon Kori Grove, which is an amazing raised platform about midway up in the canopy of this bush.
Look at those Kori trees all around. And it's so cool.
It's a very unusual view where we get to see a completely different angle on the New Zealand native bush. We get to see the tall tree above us, but the lower tree just below us.
So right here is a really iconic New Zealand picture. We've got Kori trees right here, which are the biggest and tallest and oldest trees in the country. We've got punga, which are silver ferns, ferns everywhere. We've got a thick dense bush, which is home to thousands of birds. And you also get nikao trees right here, which has those kind of palm tree-like trees coming out here. And they're actually the only palm tree that do not have nuts. That nikao means no nuts.
The Kori trees that we're seeing here are all pretty young trees, but it's still really impressive how tall they can grow. And if you remember, really way back in our trip, at the start of our 365 days doing 365 activities, we went into a kauri forest where we saw huge kauri trees. I will link up to that video in the cards above, and don't judge us because it was pretty bad, those videos in the early days. Moving on, we get back onto the main track of the Onetangi Reserve and start making our way a little bit higher onto the top of a mountain ridge. The vegetation is getting a little bit thinner, and which means that we can get more chances to see birds in the trees. For instance, we get a super close encounter with a really noisy and colourful tui bird.
So right now we just have a massive tree, which is right above us.
It's really worth taking the time when you're going on a New Zealand bushwalk to really keep an eye out for all the birds around you. They're really easy to miss, but this tui, not in particular, is easy to miss because it was so loud. As we continue on the hike, we can't believe how many different types of trees we're seeing every step of the way. We're seeing loads of different trees, from the nikao palm, the kanuka, the ponga, the pahutakawa. We've learnt loads about all the different trees since being in New Zealand, and in particular when we went on the EcoZip adventure tour yesterday, and we'll link up to that one in the cards above, and that's a really good ziplining tour to find out more about the New Zealand natural environment.
While walking through the forest, we hear a ton of bird calls. It's one thing that I love the most about walking in New Zealand forest, is the amount of life that you can just hear by walking around. It's quite amazing. At this point, we get to see some silver-eyed, which is also called wakai. They are super scared bird. It's very hard to actually get a glimpse of them, but when you get a glimpse of them, you can see why they're called silver-eyed. They have this big ring, which is silvered around, well, their eyes. We also see a ton of insects, we see a ton of plant life, there's just amazing mushrooms, and right up the canopy, we get to see a glimpse of some bigger birds, like the tui and even maybe the kaka bird, which is known to be actually spending time in this very forest. As we stumble upon some trees which look really easily climbable, Laura and I just can't help ourselves, and we actually make our way up in the trees to try to see if we get a bit of a different view. Sadly, we don't really. It's the same amazing canopies all around, and this is not going to help us get a bird's eye view on the forest. This forest has a very different look than most forests because there is a big mix of trees. We see a lot of nikao trees, and if you remember a little bit earlier in this video I explained to you a few facts about it, but it gives this whole forest a very tropical look because it's not often that in middle of the New Zealand native bush you'll find some actual palm trees. After a good hour walking through the very dense bush, we start making our way a little bit more uphill. There is still some awesome plants to check out, some awesome birds call to hear, but we get to feel that we're actually arriving at a turning point of our hike, and indeed we do.
At the top of the Onetangi Reserve, the whole view opens up to reveal the amazing coastal and forest views of Waiheke Island. And it looks absolutely beautiful in this midday sun. And even out in the distance, we can even make out the faint skyline of Auckland City and Rangitoto Island. After a short walk on the open ridge, we then delve back into the forest where we're heading downhill now toward the Onetangi beach. And this side of the Onetangi Reserve is a lot more adventurous and rugged. There's a few stream crossings to cross over and the track itself isn't as well maintained as before. Nevertheless, we are getting ever closer to Onetangi Beach where we clean our shoes and make way for the next part of our walk.
All done, this hike was fantastic. Now it's time to find our way back to our hostel, which is somewhere on the complete other side of the island.
From this end of the Onetangi Reserve, luckily it is only about 10 minutes walk to Onetangi Beach, where we're going to be catching a bus to Oneroa, which is the main settlement of Waiheke Island. And yes, there is actually a bus service on Waiheke Island, and the buses run pretty regularly, thank God. Just to note, guys, actually in New Zealand you do need to do a hand signal if you want to wave the bus down basically, otherwise a lot of the time they'll just drive right past. But anyway, we are on the bus heading to Oneroa, and then from there it's a pretty short walking distance back toward the Hekarua Lodge, which is the awesome hostel where we're staying in for our Waiheke Island stay.
Hands on top of your head. Well, obviously so I can see if you've got enough space. I think you do. Okay. Yeah.
Alright, cool.